everyone. This lesson is just going to go over lab safety. Now, most of you guys are sophomores, juniors, seniors, so hopefully you've gone over the lab safety data sheet before. Since you guys are in chemistry though, however, I am going to go back over lab safety and make sure you know where everything is. Since this class, we will be doing different labs. So today's objectives are to identify proper lab behavior and what to do during an emergency situation. So first things first, when you come into this room, make sure you guys find your desks and sit down and wait to receive instructions. Do not touch anything that includes equipment, chemicals, or any other material that's located on the lab counters. While it may be for you, some lab things are set up for another class. Some other classes are working on other things. An incident I had last year was we were using rubber bands to tie down our fetal pigs, and so they were covered in pig guts. They were sitting on the back table, and I had a couple of kids was slinging them across the room and playing with them, even though they've been touching pigs. Even if a item seems useless on the back table, please don't mess with it because you don't know what it's been used for and if it's something important. Second thing is to follow instructions. People still struggle with this, so make sure you're working on this every day. They can be written instructions on a lab manual, or they can be verbally given to you. Sometimes I give you verbal due dates and I tell you, hey, write this on your piece of paper. Sometimes a lab needs to be changed just a little bit. Instead of warming up your hot plate in step 13, maybe I'll give you a verbal instruction to actually, as soon as you get to your lab station, start the hot plate. If you're one of those people that verbal instructions go in one ear and out the other, write them down when I give them to you. That way you won't forget. Second thing, ask questions. If you don't know about something, ask. And the third thing is when you are reading your lab procedure, it says read the entire thing. My biggest thing is you don't necessarily have to read the whole thing, but read the entire step that you are on. Some steps have a little sub part of it that is drawing your attention to something special that you need to do, and you won't know you need to do it unless you read the entire step. The third thing is the location of safety equipment. Now, I'm going to go over this at the beginning of class so you can physically see where it's pointed out, but I'm also going to try to explain it in this video as well. So let's get started. The eye wash station. The eye wash station is located up near my desk. It's a big yellow object, and it helps flush your eyes if you get anything in them, including any chemical. Now, if you do get a chemical in them and we have to use the eye wash station, you have to put your eyes in there open for a minimum of 20 minutes. I may even have to hold your eyes open, but I'd rather you have your eyes in there for 20 minutes instead of you potentially hurting your eyesight. The second thing is a safety shower. It is attached and located right above the eye wash station, right up near my classroom. It has a little lever that you pull down on, and if you get chemicals spilled on you. You shouldn't have to use the safety shower. Typically, if a chemical gets on your body, it's in a small area, and I will just have you flush your hand underneath the water faucet for 20 minutes. Do not use the safety shower if you do not have to. If you pull it and it's not an emergency situation, you will be sent to the principal's office because that's a big mess to clean up. I do not have a drain on my floor. So only use it if necessary. The next one is a fire blanket. This is going to be used whenever a person is on fire. It's located right when you enter my classroom, right there at the edge of the lab station, where the phone caddy is and the door between my room and Mr. Hammond's. Right next to the fire blanket is the fire extinguisher, again, located right when you walk in by Mr. Hammond's door by the phone caddy. This fire extinguisher, all you have to do is pull the pin, aim where the fire is, squeeze the handle, and just sweep it side to side to make sure the entire fire is put out. One thing, do not use this on a person. Some fire extinguishers release chemicals that are going to make CO2 to get rid of the oxygen around the fire, because fires need oxygen in order to thrive. And you breathe oxygen, you need it. So if you spray this on a person, it can cause them to have breathing issues, and so it's just much safer to use a fire blanket. The next one is the first aid kit. I have this up near my desk, so all you have to do is let me know if you need to use it. I can get you a Band-Aid, I can get you antiseptic wipes, I can get you gauze. You just have to let me know. The next one is the office and nurse call button. This one is going to be located by the band door in my classroom. It's up by the turn-in tray along the wall where the skeleton's located. If you're still unsure what this is when you come to class, just ask me and I'll be more than happy to show you. And then we have exits. I have 3 exits in my room. If you go over by the turn-in tray, there's a skeleton on the door that exits into the band room. The phone caddy door exits into Mr. Hammond's room, and then you have your natural exit where you come in and out of class. Goggle storage is located in the back of my classroom. It's located by the American flag. There's a sign above it that says keep calm and goggles on to help you locate them. And then we have the emergency gas shutoff. So up by my eye wash station, there's a sign that says notice, main gas shut off, and there's an arrow pointing to it. This should be shut off at all times except during lab when we are using gas. And that's to prevent any gas leaks that could blow up our school if there's too much leakage. So we want to make sure this is shut off unless we're using it. Step 4 is this is going to be about dressing safely. Some labs that we use are going to require you to wear safety goggles so you don't get things stuck in your eyes. That way you do not have to wash your eyes in the eye wash station for 20 minutes. Some labs are going to require us to wear gloves and aprons so we don't get things on our skin. Other than that, proper dress attire for labs are going to be tying back your long hair so your hair doesn't get into either flames or any chemicals. Removing dangly jewelry for the same reason, as well as pulling up loose sleeves or securing baggy clothing. These last 2, wearing long pants and having no open-toed shoes, which means no sandals or flip-flops, will prevent us if we do spill a chemical from it getting on our skin. Now, these proper dress lab attire is not going to be required for every lab. I will let you know before what labs you will need to make sure you have long pants and closed-toed shoes for. Most of the time, I try to use household products in class. That way, you guys have least potential for spills or getting hurt. 5, accidental consumption. In order to prevent you from consuming any chemicals, the number 1 rule is never eat or drink in lab, and this includes water bottles. That's because you don't want anything by your eyes, mouth, or body. And the first thing that water and food goes to is your mouth. This goes hand in hand with the rule never touch, taste, or smell any chemicals unless I ask you to do so. Some things I will ask you to smell, and that will require you to waft. Waft means hold the opening of the container away from you and breathe, kind of push the air towards your nostrils. Chemical disposal. Never put anything down the sink unless I tell you it's okay. Most chemicals we work with will be okay going down the sink, but not all. In the case that the chemical cannot go down the sink, I will have a designated waste beaker that I will ask you to put your chemicals in, and then I will get rid of them. The one thing I ask you not to do is never put a chemical back in the original container you got it from, and this is the case especially if you got too much. The reason is once you take it out of that container and you try to put it back in, you've already contaminated it. And last but not least on this slide, never use unlabeled chemicals. A lot of chemicals are actually clear liquids. And one thing about clear liquids is they look just like water. If you have 2 beakers and both of them have a clear liquid in them, you don't know which is which unless it's labeled. Water, you can get it on your skin, it doesn't hurt you, you can drink it. But hydrochloric acid, which is also clear, can actually burn through some metals and corrode different substances, and you do not want to drink that. 7, if you were to spill or break anything. First thing, if you end up spilling a chemical or a glassware breaks and chemical falls out of it, always ask me how to clean it up. Generally, all you have to have is paper towels, but there are some chemicals that require me to put some baking soda on it before we can clean it up. If we break anything, let me know. I generally try to clean this up myself so you guys don't cut yourself. I have a broom and a dustpan. However, if you were to clean up any broken glass or any big chunks fall off, never ever put them in the garbage can. I have a designated container called Sharp Objects in the back of the room by the fire blanket that I have you guys put broken glassware in. The reason we don't put them in the trash can is because the custodian at night and the garbage man who comes picks up the garbage from the school does not know there's broken glass in there, and if it were to cut through the bag and cut them, that is a potential hazard. Number 8, hot things are hot. I never thought I'd have to explain this because I thought most kids learn this when they're around a stove. Unfortunately, my first year teaching, I had a student not believe me that hot plates were hot and decided to put his whole hand on the hot plate. He ended up getting a big blister and he had to put ice on it, and I guarantee it did not feel that great. So, let's go over the rules for hot things. Never leave a hot plate or a Bunsen burner unattended while it's on. Make sure it's always in eye's view and people around it know that it's hot. Next, once you're done with a hot plate or a Bunsen burner, make sure it has cooled down before putting it away. That way it doesn't have the opportunity to burn something. Never put hot glass in cool water, and same for the opposite. If something's very cool, don't just put a bunch of hot water in it. The reason is because it can cause things to shatter. Now, our beakers are made up of a type of glass called borosilicate glass that prevents this from happening, but it still does happen occasionally because not everything's perfect. So try not to make sure it's cooled down before you put any cool water in it. Next one is never heat a closed system. What I mean by a closed system is if it has a container with a lid on it or anything trapping gas inside of a bottle. The reason for this is when things are heated, the gas inside those containers expands or gets bigger, and eventually it builds up so much that these containers can explode. I know in my teaching career there was a student, and it happened outside of school. A bottle that was closed was thrown on a fire. That bottle's pressure built up and it exploded, and the glass from that bottle actually cut her, and she had to get stitches and surgery to fix it.
At this time, please dismiss the girls' golf team and the dance squad for their pictures.
Excuse those announcements. Sorry. Next, if you're ever heating a container, make sure that it's pointing away from you and other people. That way, if something does splatter out of it, it doesn't splatter in your face or other people's faces. Also, if you're handling something hot, make sure you use tongs so you're not touching that hot surface. And if an equipment is on fire, use the fire extinguisher. Do not use water. Some things actually, water causes those fires to become bigger, like a grease fire. And if a person's on fire, use a fire blanket, not the extinguisher. All in all, make sure you clean up after yourself when the lab is over. That means rinsing out any glassware and lab equipment and putting it back the way you found it. Oftentimes, there's another class doing the lab after you, so I want to make sure that lab equipment is clean and ready for them to use. Last but not least, I'm going to pass out a lab safety contract. I want you to sign it and your parent to sign it, and there are a few questions on the back. I need you to fill out those questions. They are, do you wear contact lenses? Are you colorblind? Or do you have allergic reactions or any allergies? Some students have allergies to latex, and I need to know that. I do use latex-free gloves. However, I have had a student break out over some gloves that we had that were considered latex-free. So keeping that in mind knows why a student is breaking out. That's the end of what we're doing in class in terms of going over safety. Now, we will have an activity. It is on Schoology. And it's going to be over looking at a picture and telling me whether things are safe and unsafe. So here is an example. What's wrong with this picture? So see if you can find some things that's wrong with it. So let's point out a couple of things that are wrong with it. One, he doesn't have any goggles on. Two, this cord right here is dripping and it looks to be wet. Whenever there's a wet cord, never plug it into a source of electricity because you can electrocute yourself. Other classes also pointed out that here we have a bottle with no lid at the edge of a surface, and he could easily knock that over. Over here, someone pointed out that this looks like a knife and it's sharp, and so you don't want anybody to get cut, and it's towards the edge of the table. Even up here, this looks like a sink or an eye wash station. Somebody hung their coat here, and we want to make sure that our lab area is clean and neat and picked up. Here's another picture. Let's see if you can find what's wrong with this one. If you said a couple things going on, one, there's no goggles. Two, she does not have her hair put back. Another thing you could have said is she had long sleeves, so she needs to make sure she rolls those back. She also needs to be paying attention because she is almost about ready to knock over this lab equipment full of a chemical. Here we have garbage on the table. We want to make sure that's clean and orderly. We don't want a disorganized lab table. And the last one, which is sometimes hard for people to see, is right here. He's actually heating up a test tube, but it's pointing at her. And remember, we don't want that because if it splatters, we want to make sure it splatters away from people and not on people. And here's the last one so we can kind of see what's going wrong with this picture as an example. Here, see if you can find what's wrong. If you said here she's smelling instead of wafting, that is also an unsafe situation. She also has long sleeves that she has not pulled back. Another thing that you could say is that there's trash everywhere, so we need to make sure our lab area is cleaned and picked up. And then the last couple of things is that here he has a soda can, here's a soda can. They're eating and drinking in lab, which you should not do. So that's the end of this video. Let me know if you have any questions. Your assignment is to go into Schoology and make sure you follow instructions carefully. If you don't understand something, email me and I'll be more than happy to help you. And with that, I hope you guys have a good day.